You're listening to Uncoupled and Unfiltered, the show for people smart enough to get out of the wrong relationship and bold enough to do it without losing their damn minds. Hosted by Ksenia Mensch, a divorce strategist and straight-talking badass, this podcast is your no-fluff, no-shame, take-control guide to surviving litigated divorce with clarity, guts, and zero regrets. Let's get into it. Here's Ksenia.
Welcome to Uncoupled and Unfiltered, the podcast where nothing is off limits and uncomfortable conversations are exactly the point. Today, we're talking about the love you deserve. Not the love you accept, not the love you tolerate, but the love you actually deserve. I'm joined by renowned dating coach and relationship expert Evan Marquette, who's helped thousands of smart, successful women find the lasting love. He's the author of 4 books. His Love You podcast has nearly 3 million downloads, and he has been featured in hundreds of media outlets, including Today, the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. Pretty impressive, huh? So, together, we're diving into the dating world, how to recognize healthy love when it shows up, and what it means to raise your standards without building walls. So, this episode might challenge you, but it can also change the way you date forever. So, Evan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sania. I'm really excited.
Me too, because I read about you. I listened to your podcast. I read the information you provided on the website, and seems like a common sense, but it's not. So when it comes to you working with women exclusively, why did you decide to focus on women?
Um, I like to say that men need help, but they don't ask for it. So sometimes when people find out I exist, right, when women's first reaction is like, why don't you do this for men? Why don't you fix men? Right. Well, the first 5 years of my career, I've been doing this for 22, 23 years. The first five
Okay.
years I made up the job of dating coach. I was a unisex dating coach. I didn't have a plan. 80% of the people who turned to me were women. So it was 20% nice guys who had no confidence and 80% really, really impressive women who had bad man radar. And at a certain point in time, 2010, I decided to cut guys off my list and focus on the people who were the most likely to invest in themselves. And for whatever reason, it wasn't men. So, do I agree that men need help at this juncture in time? Yes. Is it my responsibility to wave a magic wand over men? I cannot do that.
hmm I also find that I think it's easier for men to date. Like, I'm not sure about the relationship, but dating wise, because men are the ones who initiate it compared to women, we're on the receiving end. We have the final say, but we have to wait for the right man to come in. That's how I view it. And I think maybe that's why men don't think they need help.
I think it's an interesting observation about the masculine and feminine, and the man has to approach, call, plan, pay, make the first move, get down on one
Mhm.
knee. Men are definitely the initiators. I don't know that that's easier though.
No, it's not. Is it the wrong approach for a woman, or is it how does dating world work today? Because I think it's so messy, and especially there are so many single people right now, divorced people, people never married, or people just generally speaking trying to create something serious in their lives, and the apps are overwhelming. They can be disheartening, and seems like the pool of fish is not so good.
You asked like 3 questions in one.
I
So the
know,
question
I
is, which
know.
one do you want me to try to address first?
Let's talk about the first one. So, like, what is considered normal right now? Is man the initiator, or is it appropriate for a woman to start initiating?
I try not to be judgmental of anybody's choices, right? I always, say it's not right versus wrong, it's effective versus ineffective. If what you're doing is working for you, then keep doing
hmm
it. It doesn't matter what I or anybody else says. If what you're doing is working. What I see a lot of is people doing things that aren't working,
hmm
right? But insist on doing them that way. So so I just try to be an observer of human behavior. It's not
Mm-hmm.
whether it is appropriate. A woman has every right to do all the things that men do, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can call a guy, you could ask him out, you could follow up the next day to say, I had fun. When can I see you again?
Mm-hmm.
You can make dinner reservations, you can make the first move, you could have sex without commitment, you could do all of those things if it's getting you what you want. And that's sort of the problem is the gender roles have been blurred, right?
Mm-hmm.
Women have become more masculine energy, men have become more feminine energy. And we don't want to go back to the 1950s, but it
Mm-hmm.
has gotten kind of confusing. People don't know what to do. You've got a lot of people sort of waiting for the other person to do the thing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, in general, if you're a woman who wants a masculine energy man who calls and plans and pays, then probably wouldn't be in your interest to do that if you want a man who does that.
Mm-hmm. Is it a turnoff for a man though if a woman is like very assertive?
I don't think it's a turnoff. I think we have very contradictory impulses inside of us. We
Mm-hmm.
we like things that don't always add up in one package. So it certainly is nice, especially if you're a guy who doesn't have much confidence or much experience, for a woman
Mm-hmm.
to take the lead, right? But then she'll probably resent you because she's doing all the work.
And that's why divorces happen. Women start resenting because we're tired, carrying
Right.
so much on their
Right.
shoulders.
But it also creates a participant of mass. I mean, this is a huge built-in contradiction. I'm not going to judge anybody for these
Mm-hmm.
contradictions. So women will then take things on themselves. We'll call it the emotional labor, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
to do everything, but it also turns into he can't do anything because whatever he does, he's going to do it wrong. Only I know how to do it, right? Which isn't necessarily true, but that's the story.
True.
And I
Mm-hmm.
know this because I'm a masculine energy man whose wife won't let him do anything, right?
You don't ask the right questions, maybe.
I, whatever I do, it won't be as good as the way she does it. She says, if I have to explain it to you, I'm just going to do it myself. So women take on so much, right? And then complain, I've got this lazy, passive husband who doesn't help out. It's not always entirely the case. There are guys like that, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times it's basically a control issue. So
Mm-hmm.
when you take on so much and don't let him do anything, whether it's intentional or unintentional, you are uh, demasculating your guy,
Yeah.
turning him into a passive participant in the relationship, and then resenting him for what you are partial for creating. Because
Mm-hmm.
there becomes less incentive for him to make dinner reservations if you're going to be like, I don't feel like Italian tonight. I just had Japanese last night. If he makes a plan and you override his plan, you know what the right plan is? Honey, what do you want to do? Do I have to come up with all the plans around here?
It sounds very familiar.
Right. This is just a very human thing. So women
Mm-hmm.
take on more of a proactive masculine energy role, which again, it's not right versus wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then why is it so hard to find a masculine man? So the masculine man comes along. Why is this guy so busy, difficult, opinionated? I want a guy who's more agreeable.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not attracted to the guy who's more agreeable, the yes dear guy. So these are the internal contradictions. Women want a man who's more powerful, smarter, more, in control, man with a plan. Man with a plan who's more confident, powerful, in control. He's selfish, he's busy, he's a mansplainer, right? So the thing I'm attracted to isn't always a good partner. You tell
Mm-hmm.
someone to pivot on the kind of partner they have, I'm not attracted to that.
Mm-hmm. It is confusing. I mean, the dynamic, I agree. What we as women, I think we want is not necessarily what we find comfortable to be with because now we're being challenged and we have this nurturing and taking care of things almost build biological build that we don't want to always be told what to do. We're like we just do it. We're good. You're
Right. And,
busy,
and
I
and
got
again,
it.
I don't blame anybody
Hmm.
for drawing a conclusion, it's easier for me to just do everything myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to opt out of dating. I'm going to opt out of relationships. I'm going to opt out of marriage. That is a conclusion that people draw, but it's also based on their limited experiences and
Yes.
also based on a lack of understanding about how healthy relationship dynamics work. So it becomes some form of definition of insanity. So my version of this, like I share my version of events because I actually think it's relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a lot of my clients, smart, strong, successful women. There's a similar dynamic. There's a reason I coach those women. So I was on dating online for 10 years. I went out with 300 people. And what was I looking for? What was I most attracted to? The female version of me. I wanted
Mm-hmm.
the lawyer who did 2,000 billable hours, but also did cool international travels and read self-help books
Mm-hmm.
and would come up with healthy recipes for us to try at home. And like, I wanted someone who was in the 99th percentile, Rhodes Scholar,
Yes.
Top Chef, supermodel, fantasy person, right? I felt
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was the most attracted to. And so it took me 10 years of dating various versions of that to find out it wasn't a good fit. Even if it was
Hmm.
the thing I was the most attracted to, it wasn't actually compatible. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I pivoted that I got happy.
So what's the pivot? Is it we when it comes to a partner? So for I will speak like for my journey, right? I've been divorced for a few years and I did dip my feet into dating pool, been disheartened. But again, I know that it was because fresh out of divorce, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of like restructuring of who I am. So I understand why those relationships or dating
Sure.
experiences were not the most positive. But now, when I am kind of defining what I am looking for in a partner, it seems it's more complementary to me versus being a copy of me. Because having
Right,
two me's in a relationship is not a good thing.
right.
I am very fiery, I have a lot of energy, and I need somebody who is like, oh, boo, 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 boo. Let's take it a notch down. Oh, I got you. Like I need somebody who is a little more chill to
Yes.
offset my fireworks,
Yes.
you
And
know?
so that was the hardest part for me because the person who's chill is not as exciting, attractive, dynamic, but they appreciate you, they go along for the
Yes.
ride, they let you be you, all that
Mm-hmm.
comes with it, the good and the bad. So for me, after years of chasing the most impressive woman, I realized the one thing I couldn't find was an impressive woman who accepted me in full without trying to change me. I dated really impressive, critical women. I
Mm-hmm.
love you, but you have to change this, 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 and this. And all I longed for was someone who accepted me so I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to fight all the time. I just
Mm-hmm.
really needed easygoing more than I needed impressive,
Mm-hmm.
right? And finding someone who's agreeable, easygoing, warm, likable, sane, good at resolving conflict is actually really impressive. My wife is like a unicorn, right?
That's amazing.
So I could compare her to all the women I coach, all of who have more impressive credentials. But there's not a
Mm-hmm.
moment in the past 17 years that I've been married that I thought, oh, I wish I had held out for someone who made more money or went to a better college or
Mm-hmm.
had cooler hobbies. Oh my God, right? Because when you coach people every day, it reminds you, dude, you're
Mm-hmm.
so lucky. But it took me 10 years, 300 dates, and 5 years of coaching other people to draw this conclusion that you kind of figured out on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. And it's to me, it was very interesting. It was compare and contrast. And when like you said, because I need somebody who is more chill and more laid back, it was the body felt very different in the presence, but it's almost like it grows on you. It's not like you get the chemistry and fireworks and you're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. No, it was like, huh, I kind of like that. Huh, that feels good. So it comes down to not defining the characteristic and okay, this is you have to make X amount of money. It's about how I think you feel in the presence of that specific person. And
That's perfect.
be, being still yourself, because I always say, hey, you can't change him unless it's diapers. Like that's it. Let him be who he is.
A lot of women see men as projects. He has
I
so much
know.
potential. If he only changed this, and this, if he only got a better job, if he was only a better communicator, if he only wanted commitment, if, right? So people sink years and years in their life, right? Including people who get married. So
Mm-hmm.
the thing, I mean, I didn't come in here with an agenda. I knew I was talking to someone who specialized in divorce. But
Mm-hmm.
if I do have an agenda to make it really transparent, it's to remind people who are so done with marriage after their bitter, bitter divorce that your marriage and your divorce says nothing about the institution of marriage.
Oh, I
It
know
says
that.
only something about the person you chose. So
And
many people, over 50% of women, right? Women initiate two-thirds of divorces.
yep.
Over 50% of women say they never ever want to be married again. But they're basically saying, I don't want my last marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I really encourage people not to give up on marriage and commitment because you can make different choices with who you date that lead to different outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
and that the institution done right remains beautiful and meaningful and peak happiness if you get it right. And there is a
Mm-hmm.
skill to getting it right.
hmm Oh, I always say to my clients when they ask me about the marriage, and I'm like, I am a huge proponent of marriage institution. And I used to be when I just got divorced, I was like, I will never get remarried again. Why would I do that? And now that my nervous system calmed down, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I want that life. It just I didn't I didn't have a good picker, or
Yeah.
I picked somebody based on my emotional intelligence at that time. So now lessons learned, experience gathered. It's a very different approach to marriage, and it's more like a partnership versus you just make it work for the kids. It was a different mindset at that time.
I agree. I'm delighted actually that that's the conclusion you drew because from your public persona, I wouldn't have necessarily thought that was the case.
Yeah, I tend to surprise. I tend to surprise.
Yeah, again, you don't need you could be completely anti-man, anti-marriage, like you could be
No,
but you could have been, and a lot of people would be based on high conflict marriages and divorces, right?
yes.
And that sours them so much on dating men, marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a small sample size.
Yes,
Right. So, well, I'll say you know you don't attract the wrong men, you accept the wrong men.
true.
You might be attracted to the wrong men. You might be attracted to narcissists, but that doesn't mean all men are narcissists. It means those are the men you choose, and the nice guy who's gonna call you when he says he's gonna call you, right? Escalate the relationship, talk about a
Mm-hmm.
future, be consistent. You read him as boring,
True. True.
which would
I
only
mean,
lead really exciting guys where you never know where you stand with them.
hmm But that's what keeps the excitement going. So actually, it takes me to the next point of we women love to say, and I'm sure you hear it thousands of times with every client. "Ah, he's so confusing. He's sending confusing signals." Nothing is confusing. Now that I understand that with my head, but I think if I'm emotionally invested in a man, I would be the same. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what does it mean? He did this. Let's talk about how unconfusing men actually are.
I th I think we have a tendency to engage in wishful thinking. This is collectively, and this could
Hmm
overlay onto the larger political conversation in the United States right now, right? The little bubbles that we're in. The term I learned recently is called motivated reasoning, right? When we want something to be true, we could find evidence that it's true. So if you have a connection with a guy and you haven't had a real connection with a guy in a long time, you could rule out contrary evidence because it's
hmm
inconvenient to think that your connection isn't real and that it's ultimately going to be a waste of your time and this is just going to be 4 intense weeks of your life. So then you figure out ways to extend it beyond that. And the truth is, people seek pleasure or avoid pain. If a
hmm
guy is really excited about you and commitment oriented, there's not much guessing to do. You don't even need a dating coach when everything's going smoothly. Guy says, "What are you doing tonight? What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing this weekend? Can I see you again?" Calls you the next
Hmm.
day, right? Sometime in the first 4 to 6 weeks, he's begging for sex, begging to be your boyfriend, talking about one day when you meet the rest of his family. He's leading that. If a guy doesn't do that, doesn't mean he's a bad guy, doesn't mean he's evil, doesn't mean he's using you. We don't have to assign anything other than mixed messages from a guy mean mixed feelings. He's
Hmm.
ambivalent about you. And the last thing you should want from a partner is someone who's ambivalent about you.
That's, ladies, take note because it's true. Guys are very transparent. We are, I think, as women, more complicated. We imply more, and I think we speak less because we don't want to scare him off, which is silly. Like,
I
if the
agree.
guy is the wrong fit, you should know exactly where you stand. The sooner the better. It's actually a huge favor from him if you know early on you can move on to somebody else. But we tend to overthink, and I agree. Our mind gets so muddied by the potential or what we hope it can be, that we start over analyzing instead of just reading and taking the cues as they are.
Correct.
What about um, how do you have an advice, a piece of advice, how women can differentiate if the guy is interested in a fun time rather than a long time? Because a lot of times men can come in and they can say everything you want to hear, saying they're looking for a relationship, they're interested in commitment with you, but then you do the deed and they're like, poof, gone.
It's funny you should ask me that today because,
Okay.
no, sincerely, today specifically. I've been doing this for a very, very long period of time. Once upon a time, I had the world's biggest dating blog. I had 12 million readers back in 2016 when blogging was a thing, before social media took over. I never really got that good at social media. I don't like 30-second reels on Instagram or TikTok, so
Mm-hmm.
I like longer conversations. So I don't do a very good job at this. The first video that I had that got any traction in years happened this week, and it was about how to tell the difference between a guy who wants sex, the guy who wants to be a boyfriend, and a guy who wants to be a husband. That was this week's video that
Wow.
suddenly got some attention for the first time in forever. And the answer is, the hard part about it is that their behavior is virtually indistinguishable between the guy who wants to get laid and the guy who wants to get married.
It's what comes after, but then it kind of like it makes us feel used. It doesn't feel good
Well,
knowing that you were like hit and run, you know?
but this is the key point, right? Since you can't tell, right, unless he's really, really overt, right, leading
Mm-hmm.
exclusively with sex and right, it is your job to stretch out the dating process longer to gather more information instead of
Okay.
sleeping with someone on the third date and then keeping your fingers crossed that he also wants to commit and is also a decent guy. So it's incumbent upon women to protect their hearts instead of saying, "Why would he sleep with me if he doesn't intend on committing to me?" It's not on him. We already
Sure.
know that's how they act. So it's up to you to make dating fun, to
Mm-hmm.
eliminate guys based on their follow through and how you feel. So without sleeping with the guy or committing to a guy in 4 to 6 weeks, you are far less likely to make a colossal mistake than if you sleep with him on the third date based on attraction and then get into a situationship and hope it materializes into something. That's why you feel powerless, is because you did not exercise your power.
Mm-hmm. So, as a dating coach, your recommendation then for women, if you're interested, again, some women they just want to do casual situationship.
That's fine.
That's your choice. Yeah, go for it. You're walking into it with eyes wide open. But if a woman is looking for a serious relationship, a boyfriend, or potential future commitment, you recommend waiting 4 to 6 weeks of consistent dating to kind of gauge where he's at and what his plans are about you, right?
Well, I have a program called Love You. It's this massive online course that walks women from where you are right now, down about dating relationships, men, maybe low on confidence in yourself. So the whole first month is on confidence,
Mm-hmm.
then men dating, understanding men, relationships, and commitment. So it's like a master's level curriculum for people who want to fall in love and don't trust their own judgment.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a theory. Everything here is just a theory,
Okay. Yep.
um, that there's two patterns for dating, and one works better than the other. One pattern is the insta relationship, right? And this is what I did most of my 20s into my early 30s. You go out with a lot of people online, it's nobody really clicks. Then you find someone who clicks, and right there, you're done. First date, I don't want to see anybody else, just you, right? I'm going to commit to
Mm-hmm.
you. I'm going to sleep with you. You're going to sleep with me. We're going to, right? So it's this instant relationship. The problem is it's like jumping into a pool and not even knowing if there's water in the pool. It's generally a horrible idea, but men operate this way. Women operate this way. It's so hard to find a connection. It's so disappointing online. So when you find something, you grab it, but you don't know what
Sure.
you're grabbing. So we have to use cooler heads, right? We're talking as smart, successful people. The
Mm-hmm.
term is slow to hire, quick to fire.
Okay.
So let's cool it a little bit. Let's not take down our profiles. Let's not sleep with anybody. Let's see him go from texting once every few days, going out on one date a week,
Mm-hmm.
to maybe on the second date, you make out in the back of the car. And maybe the third date, so you don't go too fast too soon, you meet at a farmer's market. And maybe he calls you the following day instead of just texting you. And we see a sort of normal escalation. And at some point, I just got a client a boyfriend the other day, right? I'm not going to take the credit. She got herself a boyfriend, but she did exactly what we talked about here. And she
Mm-hmm.
went out with him about 10 times over the course of 5 weeks, right? And by the
Mm-hmm.
time, right, and they were doing some physical stuff, but not having sex. So he
Mm-hmm.
was coming back for more. He was really excited. He wanted sex. He wanted to be her partner. She as the CEO and he as the intern, right? Let's talk about a power flip.
Mm-hmm.
You're the intern if you sleep with a guy and then hope he commits to you. You are the intern. You need to be the CEO as the woman. How bad does this intern want the job with you? So if you kick the tires and get to see how he shows up, not just on the date, because any guy can be charming on a date, but after the date. How does he
Mm-hmm.
talk about women? How does he talk about his ex? How does he talk about a future? The more information, because everybody's had the same experience of sleeping with someone or dating someone, then discovering afterwards, oh, this guy's a jerk. I'm in love with a jerk,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if only I took a little time to see that, I wouldn't have all these feelings for him. So it's not a real number. Some people say, oh, wait, 3 months. 3 months is a made up time. Most guys are not going to stick around for 3 months without sex. But they
Mm-hmm.
will go around the bases and engage in high school level foreplay for a few weeks while you both figure out not only are you attracted to each other, but do you share the same long-term goals? And that's the other difference, right? If you actually want a long-term commitment and he just wants a girlfriend to sleep with twice a week, you probably shouldn't even get started. And a lot of people think, oh, I could change him. I could make him want to commit to me. I can make him want marriage, and you can't. So these are the reasons that you date someone for a month-ish, is
Mm-hmm.
to get a better sense of when you make that commitment, are you headed in the same direction? Or is that just a comforting illusion and all he wants is to be a quality casual boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if you don't know the answers to these questions, why would you sleep with him? Why would you call him your boyfriend?
Mm-hmm. What about men? Do they have patience? Like, let's say a man is a player. He knows exactly what he's after. He is just casual, right? And if you're trying to play the long, not even play the long game, but being the CEO, are those players actually stick around for 4 to 6 weeks, or do they eject themselves out of the game?
I think that most guys who are players don't have that much trouble getting laid.
Okay.
And most guys who are players don't need to commit to get laid. So
Hmm.
for a guy whose goal is to get laid, to spend 4 to 6 weeks working on it and then lie about wanting to get married is a lot of work for a guy who really just wants variety and options. So it's
Hmm.
not perfect. Nothing's perfect. But you
Hmm.
can weed out a lot of people by saying, hey, I'm really attracted to you. I'm really enjoying our time together. I would love to sleep with you, but I don't sleep with guys who aren't my boyfriend. And we've only known each other for a couple of weeks, so I'm not even ready for you to be my boyfriend.
Hmm.
So if what we have is real, sometime later next month, you're in for the night of your life, but I need to feel more comfortable before I can make that decision, and I don't have the information to make that decision yet. If he runs, well, then you did a good job. You scared him away. If he sticks
Hmm.
around, there's a good chance he's sincere. A lot of women on
Hmm.
my video were talking about guys future faking, right? That's the story.
Hmm.
Future, right?
Future
I'm
faking,
I'm
yep.
I'm being serious. Guys who are players really don't need to spend 6 weeks trying to get laid. So why
True.
would they?
Hmm.
The guy who goes that long probably really likes you platonically, and because he didn't get laid, he actually got to know you platonically because it wasn't all about sex,
Hmm.
right? So we need to buy time so it's not just driven by attraction. And then there's just some conversations because he's enjoying you. So my
Hmm.
wife coined the term men look for sex and find love. In the
Hmm.
process of trying to get laid, he's like, oh, I had no idea she was funny. I just thought she was hot. I had no idea. Because no
Yes.
guy swipes right and thinks, oh, she looks funny.
Well, that's not a compliment then, if that's what they think.
But you know what I mean? Like, so the
Yes.
attraction brings them in. And then if we just stretch out the dating process a little bit longer,
Hmm.
most men are going to fall short. So that's why we date multiple guys at the same time. We keep the job open as long as possible instead of trying to fill the job ASAP, which is what most women do.
What are your thoughts on protection? Because I think a lot of times there is men like, oh, what, you don't trust me, and women like, but kind of we
Can I can
should.
I can I say a bad word?
Sure.
Fuck those guys. I mean,
Okay.
metaphorically, not literally. Like any
Yeah,
guy
yeah,
who
yeah.
doesn't
That one, keep it out.
any guy who doesn't respect the fact that you should need protection, right? And
Hmm.
get tested is not a guy that you actually want to be in a relationship with, is it? A guy who puts his pleasure above your safety?
Hmm.
Do we really want that guy?
No,
Right.
no.
So we have to have the courage to say no to him, and a lot of people don't have that courage.
Hmm. Courage is hard because, as we talked, it feels sometimes if we say something, they may not like us. But
But
I think,
you nailed it, Senia. That's putting yourself in intern position. Oh, I
yes.
hope he likes me and I just want to say the right thing in the interview. No, no, no. He's interviewing for the job. If he
Hmm.
gets this wrong, if he doesn't respect your boundaries, he doesn't get the job. He doesn't
He's.
get laid, he doesn't get the girl.
Hmm.
You have to be in your power behind the desk, seeing how he treats you. You're making the choice. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're doing the choosing.
Hmm. Hmm.
That power shift is everything. You're not trying to make him like you. You're not trying to make him commit to you. You're seeing if he's worthy of your commitment.
Hmm. I call it now, I am in my bitch era, but not because I'm mean to other people, because I no longer, not even filter, but I no longer try to pretend to appease to somebody hoping they will like me. It's, listen, this is who I am. If you think I'm too much, go find less. If you think I'm not enough, go find more. But okay, it doesn't work then between us. And that is okay.
I agree with you. The only thing I disagree on, it's just the choice of language.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a
Hmm.
there's a popular best-selling book 20 years ago called Why Men Love Bitches by Sherry Argov, and it had basically the same principle. Men respect women who have boundaries and opinions, and it's true, they do. You don't want a guy who wants someone he could walk all over, right?
Hmm.
I just don't like the term bitch.
I like the CEO better. I like that you're a morning control. You know what You know what works for you and you know what doesn't. And
I'm
you're
also
very
I,
efficient.
I'm going to take it even further. Have you ever had a job with a good boss versus a bad boss?
Yes.
Right. We don't like bosses who are jerks or assholes, do we?
No,
So
no.
being the bitchy CEO, some guy will put up with it, but that's not a company I want to work for. So in my program, we call it the benevolent CEO. You should be Google. I, everybody wants to work for Google because they'll take a shuttle to your house, they'll provide massages and a whole healthy cafeteria inside. No one wants to leave Google.
Hmm.
So how do we create an environment for a guy that he's like, this is the best job ever. I never want to leave. That's not by being a bitch.
True, true. Yeah, agreed. I think it's one of those extremes that I know that divorced women go through. You go from a
You're right.
relationship where you felt you gave everything to it, you gave yourself away, and then you go into the to another extreme end saying, "I'm done." So
That's
no
right.
longer you can walk all over me. Until again, nervous system comes down, until you kind of process, if you are willing to look at yourself and process what you went through, and then you settle somewhere in the middle. Yes, you understand that you shouldn't lose yourself to a relationship, but if you're losing yourself, are you actually ready to date?
Perfect. And the term that I use for the phenomenon you described is overcorrection, right? And
Mm.
people tend to vacillate. Again, America's going through an overcorrection right now, right? Back
Yep.
and forth and back and forth with politics. And we're seeing the same thing that happened in relationships, right? It's not my marriage failed. It's men are trash. Marriage is a sham. Nobody's happy.
No.
My wife said that when she got divorced to her first husband 20 years ago, right? Everybody cheats. Nobody's happy. That was what she and her best friend said after they got divorced at 31, and then they got remarried at 35 and have been, have been together, married ever since. So I
Hmm.
think there's a tendency for people, it's not just women, I coach women,
Yes.
but people to overcorrect. If you had no chemistry in your relationship and you didn't have sex for the last 5 years, what happens when you're single? Whew, I want some chemistry. If he had no money and you had to support him, I'm looking for money. Right?
Hmm.
And then you find the guy with the money, and it turns out he travels 20 weeks a year and he works 10 hours a day, and you're like fifth on his priority list, but at least he
Hmm.
has money. But you're not happy. You just
Hmm.
overcorrected and found money, or you overcorrected and found chemistry. So the middle is the only place people can get happy.
Hmm.
Overcorrection never works.
How can women tell that they're ready to date and it's not done out of desperation or out of I'm lonely or I'm trying to prove myself? My ex will regret. Uh, It's just the stupidest thing people say.
I think that's something
Mm.
that's going to be more internal for her than something that I can share. People
Hmm.
usually come to me when they are ready.
Got it.
Like uh, either it's a pain point, I just got out of a 25-year marriage,
Hmm.
right? Or I just went on three horrible online dates in a row and I'm ready to toss in the towel.
Hmm.
Or my kids are going off to college and I realize I've got time and I've got 30 years ahead of me that I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with and I want a partnership. Or I had a connection with a guy. I focused on working and being a single mom and then I met a guy on an airplane and it reminded me how much I was missing feeling. So there's usually
Hmm.
some sort of emotional catalyst. But usually when they hire me, they are ready. They are
Hmm.
financially secure. They have done the therapy. What they don't
Hmm.
know is what to do differently to find a better partner
Hmm.
in the future. But they're usually people who have friends, have money, have self-esteem. They have everything going for them except for this one thing. So they're not underwater drowning. They're actually thriving in life. They're just missing out on partnership. That's when I
Hmm.
get a call. It's after therapy usually.
Yes. I feel like therapy is sometimes it used to be more of a taboo. It's a little less now, but people think, oh, if I go to therapy, something's wrong with you. No, it means you are brave enough to ask for help, knowing that whatever happened in the past didn't work. So how do I fix it? Because I was a part of it, right?
That's correct. And what
Ha-
coaching is very, very different than therapy. Therapy is
hmm.
about your past, coaching is about your future.
Hmm. How do you help women overcome some trust issues? Like a lot of times we come in, our man picker is broken. So how can they learn to trust themselves again?
Well, there's multiple things that have to take place. It's why when people hire me, we don't go on a date for at least 7 weeks. We have to kind of rebuild their trust in themselves, in men, in dating. Like we have to clear away all the bad cobwebs. So there's a lack of trust in men, and
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously there's a lack of trust in one's own judgment.
Yes.
Right? And I talked to someone the other day who was dating a guy who had like a double life. He had like another girlfriend or another wife in a different city. It was like crazy, right?
Wow.
He had no idea. That will erode a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The thing to remember, and this is logical, I was thinking of the beginning of our conversation about why sometimes these patterns are hard to break. Human beings are emotional, and emotion tends to trump logic. It
Mm-hmm.
just does. So, w- how many people in your life do you know had husbands who led double lives? Well, relatively small, maybe because you're a divorce attorney, you know more, but relatively small number of people. I've heard of this story maybe
Mm-hmm.
3, 4 times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Not just cheating, but like literally like families in different cities, like crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So what are the odds that that's going to happen again? They're minuscule.
Mm-hmm.
So what any woman has to do is realize the next guy has nothing to do with the last guy. They're completely independent rolls of the dice. You talk to me like that's like, and everybody in my world, I don't know anybody. Like I don't know anybody like that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've chosen someone who's destroyed you, your belief
Mm-hmm.
in yourself, your confidence in yourself, your trust in your own judgment, that has everything to do with that individual person and
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with men at large. So
That's a
you
great
have to
point.
you have to let go of that. I use a story of a friend of mine who almost got carjacked in front of her house here in Los Angeles. Um, she fought him off and ran. She was a runner. She ran away.
Mm-hmm.
But from then on, she went out and got a gun and carried a gun wherever she went. Now that is a reaction to being almost carjacked in front of your home. But then you have to be the person who carries a gun wherever you go. Right?
Yes.
And you don't want to be that person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So women, men too, but women, my clients, build walls around themselves to protect themselves from harm. The problem is, at a certain point, the wall protects you from ever finding love and connection. It's a
Mm-hmm.
self-fulfilling prophecy. I so don't want to get hurt that I won't date. I won't let anybody in. If I let someone in, it's going to be someone that I know I'm never going to have a real connection with. So I could have sex, but it's never going to go anywhere. But making oneself vulnerable means tearing down the wall and trusting and being vulnerable because it's the only way to make a real connection with a real, authentic,
Mm-hmm.
secure, vulnerable man. So I think there's just a lot of layers of this. And what I like about coaching is we could do it a lot faster than we can in therapy.
That's true. It's much more laser focused. And like you said, it's based on its future movement versus analyzing the past and understanding why.
It's also action oriented, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't think your way out of a problem. You could look in the mirror on January 1st and say, I got to lose 25 pounds. I feel bad about myself, but thinking about it won't do anything. Only dieting and working out will do something. The same thing with one's love life. We could
Mm-hmm.
feel sad, lonely, anxious, right? And we could surround ourselves by friends and family. But if you actually want to have someone who loves you and takes care of you emotionally, financially, wakes up next to you every day, listens to you at the end of a hard day, the only way to
Mm-hmm.
get that is to let go of the mistakes you made in the past and make different choices in the future that lead to different outcomes. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why there are millions. This isn't like winning the lottery. There are millions of happily married people. This isn't
Oh,
rare.
absolutely. It's not. It's not rare. And I love it. Every time I see happy couples or I see a lot of my friends are getting engaged, this is their second marriage. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is the best news ever because you see people rebuild themselves and rebuild their lives after some hardships. I mean, first
Sure.
relationships usually are hard because we do not know ourselves. We're kind of trying to figure out life. We're trying to establish ourselves. It's just a shit show completely. But the second marriage, if again you come with knowledge, experience, understanding.
But people
I,
don't. That's actually the hard part. And that's where I'm going to throw up my hand as a caution because, it might sound like I'm talking against my own self-interest.
mhm,
Two-thirds of second marriages fail. Right?
I read that stat too.
So why is that? It's because A, people overcorrect,
Mm-hmm.
right? They go to the opposite end of this. My mom did this, right? Go to the opposite end of the spectrum from
Mm-hmm.
from their first marriage. B, they move way too fast.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was widowed at 51, and the first guy she dated afterwards, dated him for 8 months, got married. Right?
Mm-hmm.
8 months is not enough time. So people's story is A, I'm older, B, I'm wiser, C, I have less time, so I got to lock it in. And that's when we make mistakes. It would be like sleeping with
Mm-hmm.
someone on the second date and hoping you got to date someone for a couple of years.
Yes.
Unless you're 39 and want kids, there's no excuse not to date someone for long enough for the initial excitement chemistry to wear off. And
Mm-hmm.
then and this is scientific, it's not me. Attraction lasts for 18 to 36 months. You do not want to make big life decisions when you're in that peak, oh my God, you're my soulmate. You actually want the thrill to wear off. And now you have a better picture of what your marriage is going to look like because it looks very different than dating, as that every married couple knows.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is people technically are older and wiser, but they're making some of the same mistakes they made when they were younger, just a different form of it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why I always find it fascinating that so many people think that this is a thing they should figure out, where I don't think I could come and do your job, Senia. Like, I am
Mm-hmm.
positive that even as a bright, logical, hardworking guy, I could not do your job. But everybody thinks they could do my job.
No.
Everybody thinks they could. No, why are there so many unhappily married people? These are all people who thought they figured it out, but they didn't. So why
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't we, right? The way you invested in law school, why wouldn't we take a course in love to
Mm-hmm.
understand what works versus what doesn't work from more of a scientific place, a data-driven place instead of an emotional place? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What best practices are? Because I can't stop two 65-year-old people from getting married after 6 months, but maybe if someone hears a podcast and hears that's not a good idea, and that has a bad track record, and if what you
Mm-hmm.
have is real, it'll still be there in 2 years.
Yes.
There's no reason you have to lock it in too fast. You don't want to be another divorce statistic. Maybe that gives them enough pause.
Mm-hmm. What about there are some marriages, and I've heard about them. I've seen some people do that, get knocked up, right? They marry for the kid. Do those things survive actually?
They can, but in the broken clock is right twice a day way, like there's always like anything I'm sharing with you, someone is listening and finding the exception, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my second marriage, we got engaged after 3 months and we're together 20 years later. Oh, we slept together in the on the second date, and here we are 40 years later. The second met him, I knew he was my soulmate. The reason those are great stories is because they're the exception.
Yes.
More often, those things fail and blow up. That's why
Mm-hmm.
it's a really good story. It doesn't teach us anything.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes people cling to hope and they're like, oh, but you see, it worked to some, so it will work for me. And it just we lie to ourselves. I think this is the biggest thing we do ourselves disservice. We lie. We convince ourselves it's going to be great.
Well, we all think we're exceptions to the rule. And when it comes to love, there are examples of it. But like, this might not be the best metaphor, but if you were going on a cross-country flight
Hmm.
and you were told that there was a two-thirds chance that your plane was going to blow up,
I probably would not go on the plane.
right? So why would anybody think that quickly getting married, right? And again, these are all statistics. People who get married under the age of 25, 75% divorce rate, or at least 60% divorce rate. I've heard
Yes.
different statistics, right? Second marriages, two-thirds divorce rate. Third marriages, three-quarters divorce rate. This says nothing about marriage. This says only about how people, humans, emotionally make bad decisions.
Hmm.
There is a way to divorce proof your marriage. It's by waiting a while to get to
Hmm.
know someone before you make any big life decision.
Hmm. I know a lot of women would want to know. I actually want to know too. When women date men or just like getting to know, sometimes I found men don't listen to what we say. There is almost like they have their own agenda. And I actually recently asked a friend, I'm like, do ears come separately from men? Like, is it not a package deal? Like, I am saying something to you and you just poof, it goes right over your head and you are still going down the path of situationship. And what I told you, that's not what I'm interested in.
It doesn't matter what path he's going down. He can't go anywhere that you're not going, right?
No, agreed.
I
He
mean, he could
can't.
keep on pushing for something that doesn't work for you, but if you're the CEO, then he's not going to get laid at all, much less get into a situationship. So his agenda being different than
Hmm.
yours is kind of irrelevant. The quicker you figure out you're incompatible,
Hmm.
right? The quicker you could let him go. So you shouldn't have to have a series of conversations about here's what I want,
Hmm.
right? Which is not to blame you for the guy who's not listening. That wasn't,
Hmm.
your question was about men who don't listen, and I did listen to your question,
Yes, you did.
right? But remember, you can't change men. So your
Hmm.
observation about men is true, right? The stereotype is true,
Okay.
right? And then we could talk about why. And it becomes interesting when we look at stereotypes of men and women and why they are the way they are, right? And I'm not an evolutionary psychologist, but some of this makes a certain amount of sense. They talk about women being multitaskers, right?
Hmm.
And men are more
Yes.
singularly focused. That means he's in his head, he's focused on him, right? And
Hmm.
that's it. Why do men talk so darn much on a date? Why do they go out and talk to you for for 2 hours, talk at you?
Yes, they do.
It's because they're not as curious about you. What they want is how you make them feel in
Hmm.
general. So women are sitting on the date, right? Because they have a different agenda as as women, even despite how society is modernized.
Hmm.
You are trying to figure out in 90 minutes, what's this guy's deal? Is he a threat? Does he want a real relationship? Does he respect women? Does he have the same religion and politics? Does he have any money, or am I going to have to support this guy? So you're trying to figure out your entire future on a date. You know what he's thinking? She's pretty. I wonder what she looks like naked.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty sure.
so what is he going to do? He's going to spend 2 hours telling you why he's so great and why he should get to see you naked.
Oh,
He's trying to impress you. Like someone in
sales
the animal
pitch.
kingdom. He's like a peacock. He's trying to impress you. Right? Here's my fancy car. Did you know I only have I have a place in Aspen? I'm a black diamond skier. Did you know I once had a threesome? Maybe we could do that sometime. So here's this guy trying to tell you how great he is, and all he wants is for you to applaud.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying
No,
we've
I get
seen
it.
this a million times. And women are more attuned to their threats, and they're trying to evaluate, is he going to be a good protector and provider? So
Hmm.
you have a different agenda on a date than he does. And it doesn't mean he's bad or wrong. You're both trying to do two different things.
What is the biggest red flag you think women miss?
Red flag, women miss. I mean, I told you before we got on the call, I have like a checklist. I can't remember everything on the
Hmm.
checklist of men that should be avoided from the very get-go, right?
Hmm.
And I talked about a YouTube video. I had one viral TikTok video. It was like, here's all the men you should avoid. Uh, and off the top of my head, it's men who are separated, men who are recently divorced, men who are long distance, men who are going through midlife crisis, men who have addiction issues, men who have anger issues, men who don't know what they're looking for, men who say that you're too good for me, who are intimidated by you.
Hmm.
8, 9 right there. So I've had
Hmm.
women were commenting on that. They're like, that's all of the men.
No, it's
That's,
not.
but hold on. That's perfect Because if we can eliminate 90% of men from that list, now we have a pretty defined list of 10% of guys who aren't threatened by an intelligent woman, who aren't in midlife crisis, who don't have addiction issues, who don't have to import you to sleep with them from a different city.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lane. So we don't need 100% of guys. We need 10% of guys, and you need to choose one. That's a very achievable goal for people who think it's so hard out there and there's nobody good on the apps. It's not true. You're paying more attention to the 90%, and I need you to pay attention to the 10% and figure out who they are in the first 4 to 6 weeks.
That makes sense. That's a great strategy. Where can women meet that 10% of men if they're not on dating apps?
You got to be on dating apps.
Okay.
Here, I'll tell you, your listeners, the same thing that I've told anybody who doesn't want to date online. I don't care if you date online. I have no agenda. I don't make money off of the online dating industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, I'm a dating coach. And if I'm your dating coach, what do we have to do? We have to talk about dating. If we're talking about dating, you have to be dating someone. Otherwise, it's therapy, talking about people in your past, not your present.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be dating, if you can, Senia, get a date a week without online dating, just by smiling and looking pretty and talking to strangers, great. You never have to go online. I've never had anybody take me up on the offer. No one has ever been able to get a date a week without online dating. So that's why you have to date online. Because if you go out with one guy a week for the next 6 months you're working with me, you're going to find someone you like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have a really great track record, is because I get people to do something that works. Like the personal trainer who says, here's your workout regimen. Here's your sleep. Here's your hydration, back and bi, chest and tries, rest day. Like, we're going to lay it out for you. All you got to do is follow directions. If you follow directions, it works. And it does. But most people want to figure out the magic formula. They want their Ozempic. They don't want to diet. Could I
Mm-hmm.
just meet him in real life if I take up golf? Well, yes, you could. You'll be at a golf club where 75% of those guys are married, right?
Yes.
And then another 75% are too old for you. And so are you joining a golf club to meet five guys? You could meet five guys in an hour online. So, so I think people just think that like real life is going to produce. I think real life is great. I think real life is superior to online dating.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're in your 20s in a major city, you're living in the suburbs. Most of your friends are married. People are working remotely. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm going to try to find a job, but I'm not going to be on LinkedIn. Okay, I guess. So I don't know all the people who think that they could pull this off. So I teach people how to flirt. I teach people how to meet men in real life. But the bread and butter is creating a dating practice the way you have a yoga practice and a meditation practice and a skincare routine,
Mm-hmm.
right? You need to have a dating practice. A half hour a day online is going to produce results.
Okay. All right. I think it's just dating. I think a lot of people I think are burned out because like you said, they don't know how to do it effectively.
Right. But
And
there's a skill. There's
yes.
absolutely a skill to this. And it's a teachable skill. That's what's so encouraging. Okay, if everybody's opting out of it, right? The people who have the skill will survive. Right? My
Mm-hmm.
client, I just told you about a client who got a boyfriend. She's 61, African American, right? Came from an abusive household as a kid, had an abusive marriage for 25 years, right? No real dating experience, no real confidence in her judgment with men, right? She
Mm-hmm.
worked with me for 6 months, got a boyfriend, turned out he was a player, got rid of the boyfriend, went back online, went on about 7 or 8 dates, got another boyfriend this week, right?
That's amazing. That's
She created that. And this guy did everything right.
mm-hmm.
And he's cute and he's age appropriate. And remember, it is harder if you're black and it is harder if you're in your 60s. So anytime I hear an attractive woman in her 30s being like, oh my God, there's nobody out there, try being a divorced black woman in Texas in your 60s, right? And she's
Yeah.
killing it. So I just Where everybody else sees failure, I see opportunity.
Hmm. Well, as a final piece of advice from you, what is the best dating advice you give, but people hate hearing?
People hate hearing.
It's a hard one to swallow.
No, 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 it's okay. I mean, almost all of it's hard to swallow. I mean, I could run down a list. What you're attracted to and what's good for you are not always identical.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Compatibility, right? Seven chemistry, 10 compatibility is a good relationship. 10 chemistry. I've never seen a healthy 10 chemistry relationship in my entire life. Um, uh, you have to date online to create opportunity to do lead generation. These are things people
Hmm.
don't want to hear. Um, uh, to me, the most important advice I can give is that good relationships are easy.
Mm.
And if your relationship isn't easy, it's probably not very good. So the story that we've been told over the years is that relationships take work, a lot of work.
Yes.
Bad relationships take a lot of work. Good
Hmm.
relationships actually don't. How do we know this? Think of the good relationships you have in your life. Your best friend, your sister, your mom, whoever that is. Does that
They're
relationship
easy.
take a lot of work? It does not. It does
They're
not. So
easy.
why shouldn't our marital relationship be easy? It's because we don't choose easy. We choose someone who checks the boxes that we're attracted to and then try to make it work. You should not have to work so hard to make it work. Relationships take effort the way going to the gym takes effort, watering the garden
Hmm.
takes effort, showing up at your job 5 days a week takes effort, but it's not
Hmm.
work. It's not drudgery. It's not pain. If your
Hmm.
relationship really is that painful, get out of the relationship and find an easier one. And that is a revolutionary thought for a lot of people.
Hmm. I learned to say that if you have to force things, it's probably poop. Like it's not a good thing. It just let it go and focus on something that is least resistance.
Yeah.
Not even least resistance, but less resistance. It shouldn't be forced to the point where you're fighting for it.
Right. So my coaching, I'm basically reverse engineering a feeling. Right? How does it
Hmm.
feel to be loved unconditionally? To be able to let down your guard, to trust, to believe and know that someone has your back, is taking care of you, is committed to you, and is never going to leave you. How does that feel? Right? Safe, heard, and understood. So why should we not have that feeling of safe, heard, and understood all the time in a relationship? Why would we choose any man who does not make us feel safe, heard, and understood? So that's how
Hmm.
it becomes very easy to fire interns who don't make you feel safe, heard, and understood.
Hmm. That's actually the three words I'm using. I'm using safe, heard, and accepted.
Great. Perfect. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're pretty wise. It sounds like you know a lot.
Yeah, now I just need to implement it into practice.
That's correct.
Yeah. Well, it was a fascinating conversation. I love it. I think it gives so much hope. And I just think women need to be less afraid. I think social media does a lot of disservice because there
Hmm.
are so many influencers that they give you this dating advice, they give you this dating advice. If he could, he would. Like it just overload that I think women get burned out and they just go in a shell and they get very resentful toward men, which
Uh-huh.
is not the right approach because like I said, men are very straightforward. They're not lying to you, they're not trying to hurt you, they're actually very upfront if we're willing to take it at face value what they're saying.
I think that's great advice. Well done.
So thank you so much, Evan, for being here. Really appreciate your time and sharing your wisdom with us and teaching women how to find their love they deserve.
I'm just an advocate for other people being as happy in their relationships as I am. So thank you for giving me the opportunity today. For anybody who's been listening, if you're curious about any of this, I give a ton of free advice. Come to my website, go to evanmarkatz.com /uncoupled. And you could take a quiz about the whether you've been wasting your time on the wrong men. And in taking that quiz, I predict you will realize you've been wasting your time on a lot of the wrong men and we could help you fix your broken man picker. And I'm just, again, grateful to get this information out into the world and help women get happy.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening to Uncoupled and Unfiltered. Until next time.
That's it for this episode of Uncoupled and Unfiltered. If you're loving the raw truth and practical takeaways, do the badass thing and rate and review the show wherever you listen. It helps more good people find their way out of the chaos. And check the show notes. Yeah, we actually put some useful stuff in there. Resources, links, tools, go grab what you need. Until next time, don't settle, don't shrink, and don't look back.